Welcome to the Art of Likability, ranked one of the top podcasts in the world. In this podcast, you'll discover how to leverage likability to build stronger relationships, lead more efficiently, close more sales, and keep customers happy while increasing success in your professional and personal life. Let's jump in with your host, Arel Moody.
What's going on, Likability family? Arel Moody here, your host of the Art of Likability podcast, where you learn the strategies to take your life to the next level in every single area because you get charisma. You get that it factor. You become likable. When you become likable, you have better relationships and better connections. And relationships are the most important asset that exists, period. Relationships are everything. It really is. You can't tell me there's anything more important to creating success in your life than relationships. And relationships are based on likability, how well you get along with people, that factor you have. So if you want to really build it, you're in the right place. This is for you because you're going to learn how to connect with people at a deeper level. And for those of you who are interested, by the way, in connecting with people as a professional speaker, definitely head over to truespeakingsuccess.com/startup. It's actually an event I'm throwing, which I'm pretty excited about. It's going to be happening in July of 2018. So depending upon when you're listening to this, this may or may not be useful to you. But if you're listening to this before July 2018, I'm doing a really cool event to help people get started as a professional speaker. We're going to shoot your speaking demo video. We're going to build your website for you. We're going to create the content for your website. We're going to get pictures taken that look super professional and make you look like a rock star. So a lot of people have been reaching out and saying, Arel, I want to get started as a speaker. How do I do it? Because many of you probably know that I travel the country as a professional speaker. Well, you have to have these basic things. So if you want to actually be a speaker, join us in Tampa. It's going to be really, really cool. And it's a passion of mine. So go to truespeakingsuccess.com/startup to reserve your spot for that super cool event. And today, for this episode, I want to share some ideas that I think really going to impact your life in a very profound way, because there's a philosophy that I've incorporated into everything that I do. And it's truly been a philosophy that has impacted my life in truly just super, super positive way. And it's the idea that every situation I go into, whether it is with my children, whether it is with my wife, whether it is with a customer, I'm constantly asking myself, what's the win-win here? Where do I win and how do they win? I'm very competitive in just general nature. Like I love sports. And in sports, there's a clear winner and a clear loser. Maybe except in soccer. I think you can get ties in soccer. But, even in soccer, every sport pretty much, there's a winner, there's a loser. But you got to ask yourself, what's the win-win? How do I win? How do you win? I think the challenge with many power struggles in relationships is that we set up a win-lose dynamic. Give you an example. You get into an argument with your wife or your husband or your boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whatever, right? You get into a fight with them and you feel like I am right. I'm right. And they are wrong. They need to see things the way I see it because I am clearly right and they are clearly wrong. So they need to see it the way I see it. And I'm going to argue and I'm going to yell and I'm going to protest to prove that I'm right. Because what that does, what that philosophy happens, and we've all been there, you've been there, you know that. We get into the I need to show them why they are going to lose and I'm going to win. And if they can see things my way, then I win and they lose. But the other person's thinking the same way. Because no matter how much you think that the other person is crazy for not seeing things your way, they probably think you're just as crazy for not seeing it their way. So that creates a lose-lose. No one wins in that situation. But you gotta ask yourself, how do I win and how do they win? And sometimes you have to say, hey, I'll give you a perfect example. I recently got into an argument with my wife. Okay, so I wouldn't call it like a mean argument, but it was definitely a disagreement. She didn't like the way somebody responded to an email that she sent. She didn't like the response. So she comes and she tells me, hey, here's the response. And my very first reaction was, look, I think you're pretty much you're overreacting. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And this person, the way they responded, like, I just, I can see their side. I can see their side. So she got really mad at me because she was like, no, this person is unprofessional. They weren't doing things the way they should. I don't like the way that this person responded. And I was like, I just don't think it's that big of a deal. But then we got into this argument because she's like, you don't even see it my way. You're defending this other person. And I was like, but yo, like in my way, I was like, yo. So I kept trying to convince her, hey, you are overreacting. I think the person isn't. Come see it my way. Come see it in my light. Come see why what I'm telling you is right and why you should calm down and listen to me and do things my way and react in the world the way I react in the world because I know this stuff and you're overreacting and it's hurting you and it's damaging your soul. Like, I'm trying to convince her to come to my side. And she's trying to convince me to come to her side to see why she's so upset and why it is something for her to be upset about. But what happened in that is that I created a win-lose dynamic. So either she loses because she has to see things my way, so I win, or I lose and I have to see things her way. Or you could say, well, what's the win-win? Well, ultimately, what I wanted to do was show her a different viewpoint or perspective of looking at it, and she wanted me to understand her viewpoint. So I realized what really I needed to do was sit down and say, hey, I want you to know that above everything else, I've got your back first. And I realized that the way I responded in that situation was I chose to take someone else's side without even really understanding how you were affected. That's unacceptable. It's not who I am because I want you to know that I've got your back more than anyone else in the world. And she said, I appreciate that and thank you. And I meant it. And it was true and it was honest. And then we can say, okay, at no point do I feel like I lost. Like letting her know I got her back and that I could have had her back more. I don't feel like I've lost. She doesn't feel like she's lost. She feels like she wins and I feel like I win because I'm connecting with the person who I care about the most, but I've still gotten to share my viewpoint that, hey, I may not agree with you here, but I want you to know I got your back more than anyone else and I didn't show you there because honestly, I didn't. That's a win-win. I'm setting up a situation to realize that I don't need to have someone lose for me to win. And I see it all the time. I see it in, I was talking to a friend of mine who was upset that someone got a job and this person didn't get the job. My friend did not get a job offer. So him and his friend both applied. His friend got the job offer. He didn't. He was super upset about it. And he's like, that person modeled my resume and it's unfair that they got the position and I didn't. Well, then he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to be talking to that person like that anymore. It's like, well, wait a minute now. That person didn't do anything to you. Don't take it out on them. That's a lose-lose. So now he doesn't get the job and he doesn't hang out with this person who he knows because he's upset that the person got the position over him. Well, that's a lose-lose. And if you actually get present in your life, if you think about so many dynamics, people think, well, either I win and they lose, or I lose and they win, or we both lose. But if you actually move your mindset to the win-win philosophy, if you actually move your philosophy to how do I win and how do they win? Typically, you get to that point. The way you get to a win-win is asking yourself, what's the greater good? It's a very important question. I want you to remember this phrase. It's a tweetable if you like. The way you get to a win-win is by asking yourself, what's the greater good? Is bickering and arguing about the way someone responded to a email or the way someone got a position that you wanted, are those things really the greater good? Or is it showing that you support someone, showing that you care about them, showing them that you're there to love them and respect them and grow with them and share your difference of opinion, but doing it in a place of love? Well, the greater good is probably doing it from a place of love, isn't it? So if you look for it, I genuinely believe it's always there. And now what's also cool is from a very tactile perspective. If you start learning how to find the win-win, your mind will start looking for ways to create the win-win. You know, I had a situation with my son the other day. His little boy, he's cute, he's 2 years old. And he said, "Daddy, pick me up," right? And I go, "Say, pick me up, please." He said, "Pick me up." And I said, "Okay, come over here and I'll pick you up." And he said, "No, you come over here and pick me up." We're having a power struggle. Now, if I go over to him, I lose. And if he comes over to me, he loses. And at 2 years old, he already doesn't like losing. So we're in a power struggle. So I'm like, "No, I'm the parent. You come to me, then I'll pick you up." And he's like, "No, you come pick me up over here." I'm arguing with a 2-year-old in public. So I was like, okay. So I took a couple of steps back and said, "Hey, I can leave if you'd like, but I'd like to pick you up. How about we do this? I'll crouch down, and if you run towards me, I'll crouch down, and then I can grab you and pick you up." So it's literally physically like meeting him halfway. And then he was like, okay, and he ran, and I crouched down, and I leaned in towards him and picked him up instead of him jumping into my arms. So it was just a way for us to both win. So I felt like he wasn't telling me what to do. He felt like he got a power win. Everybody wins. This works in all areas of your life, I promise you. But you got to ask yourself, where's the win-win? Even in the circumstances where you're like, this person's totally wrong, I don't agree with them, they're doing things in a mean way. Just ask yourself, okay, well, what's the win-win? And ultimately, you get to the win-win by saying, what's the greater good? What's the elevated way of acting, being, thinking? How do we actually get there? Versus getting so caught up in these itty-bitty arguments that just honestly ruin relationships. So my request of you this week is to look for the win-win. How do you win? How do they win? How do your coworkers win? How do you win? How does your spouse win? And how do you win? Even if other people don't look for the win-win, you look for the win-win. Look for a way for you to grow, for you to help others. And you know, maybe you're dealing with a coworker that's mean, or you have clients that like just don't get it. You just got to look for the win-win. It's always there. I'm willing to say always. The win-win is always there, but you got to look for it. So I want to challenge you right now to look in your life. Look for a situation where maybe you have conflict with someone, or maybe you get in, or just look out for when it happens that you get in a disagreement with someone. And in that moment say, okay, what's the win-win? But you cannot say there is no win-win. You can't say next time because this person is a mean jerk, whatever. Like in the toughest moments, if you look for the win-win, you'll find it. I promise you, I really do. But if as soon as you tell yourself there is no win-win, your mind shuts off even looking for it. And I genuinely believe our minds, if we harness them correctly, are incredible problem-solving machines. The thing is, we're not using them well. Because when we say things like, "I don't know," and we say things like, "there is no way," that is an answer. And when our mind gets an answer, it feels satisfied. But when our mind is in a question, our minds hate questions. We like answers. So if the question is, what's the win-win? As long as you don't say, "I don't know, I can't figure it out, there is none," well, then that's an answer and your brain shuts off. But if you say, what's the win-win? How do I figure it out? How does this person win? How do I win? And you let that question swirl around in your brain, I promise you, you will be so impressed with how your magical, amazing supercomputer brain will find solutions. And the better you get at finding win-wins, the better you get at the skill set. The better you get the skill set, the easier it is for you to do in the future. So my challenge to you is look for an area in your life where you're finding a struggle with someone and just ask yourself, what's the win-win? What's the win-win? How does this person win? How do I win? And then you'll find yourself actually in this beautiful world where people don't have to lose in order for you to win. And then when you become someone who creates the kind of value that creates winning for their life, but you're not sacrificing yourself in the process and killing yourself in the process, but you're also winning, that, my friend, is super successful. So please do that. And listen, if you want to become a super successful professional speaker, hey, I invite you to join us in Tampa in July. If you have a desire, no matter where you are in the country, fly in. Tampa is super cheap to fly into. We got a great Hilton hotel for you to stay at, super cheap. We got a great rate. We're going to get you everything you need to get going. And on top of that, as a bonus, I'm going to give you access to free access to a $2,000 course for free. That's going to show you everything you need to do to market, brand, sell, speak, and create systems to run your speaking business. So if you're someone who has been liking this information and you've got a message to share and you want to share with others, get involved with what we're doing. It's a live event. I've never done this event before. I have no idea if I'll ever do it again. So this will be your one chance, and you can get rocket launched in just 2 days with tangible, actionable results. You'll get your website done. You'll get your speaker demo sizzle video done. You'll get your website content, your speaking presentations, your bio, all that done. You get super professional photos. And all of this allows for when people come to your site, they go, this person deserves to be highly compensated because they look like a big deal. And then we give you the online course and the ongoing support to make sure you can take action with it. So I hope you join us. Go to truespeakingsuccess.com/startup. That is another business entity that I own. And we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be a really small group, intimate group, because we just can't, the amount of one-on-one attention we're giving, we just can't have a bunch of people at that event. So I hope you join us and sign up. And I hope that you apply the win-win mindset in all that you do. And remember that the information that you heard today will not impact your life in any way. The application and implementation of this information will absolutely transform your life. So if you like what you heard, please make sure to leave a 5-star review and let other people know about this information, which is just a great thank you. It's a win-win. You get the great podcast. Hope you like it. I get the 5-star review. We get in front of more people. We help more people. Everyone wins. So if you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to do that. Send me a tweet, Facebook message. Let me know about a situation that you're currently dealing with that you applied the win-win strategy to, or ask me a question, and I'll be happy to do my best to answer it as soon as I can. So even though I can't see you, even though I can't touch you and feel you, not touch you in a weird way, I guess that sounds weird, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you can only hear me. This is an audio connection. I just want you to know, if you listen to the sound of my voice, I really want you to win in whatever you're doing. So sending you a big old high five. You are awesome.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, The Art of Likability, and reach out with any questions you have. Until next time, remember, my friend, you are awesome.